Hey guys, thank you for coming. And we have another exciting show for you tonight. Today we are on book or reflection, should I say, 186, and this is in Chris's wheelhouse. So let him introduce the what he's talking about, and let's see what we can learn from that.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this one. The book tonight, the reflection is from the book String Theory on Tennis by the author David Foster Wallace. Do you know who David Foster Wallace is? He's one of those weird dudes that has this kind of cult following. I think he killed himself or died really early on back in the 90s or something along those lines. I can't fully remember exactly why, but he wrote a bunch of off the wall articles and books. And I think he got like this cult following and then he died early from like mental health related issues or suicide or something like that. I'm probably butchering his story, but he's the weird dude that had a lot of interesting thoughts and reflections and stuff like that. He also happens to be a lifelong tennis player. At one point in time, he was a top-rated junior in the Midwest when he was growing up. He had thoughts of maybe one day turning pro, but he eventually found out that he wasn't good enough. He was always just going to be a top-level junior and couldn't really break through that ceiling. He had limitations in his game.
But I think he is beavering in a desert.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I think hey, why can't I fucking get to the top? Maybe because you're not supposed to be in the top in that court, right? You know what I mean? You're the wrong court, dude.
Exactly.
And maybe that could explain why his depression related suicide. Because I mean, you think about it, beavering in a desert, it's harsh.
Right.
You can't do as good, and it's take tremendous mental strain on you.
Exactly. So his quick Wikipedia page. He grew up in Illinois and he attended Amherst College and he taught English at Emerson College, Illinois State University, and Pomona College. In 2008, he died by suicide at age 46, struggling with depression for many years. He's an American novelist, short essay story writer, and university professor of English and creative writing. He's best known for his 1996 novel, Infinite Jest, which Time magazine cited as one of the 100 best English language novels from 1923 to 2005. He's like one of those dudes that's, after he died, he became a little bit more well-known and popular and kind of has a cult following, I think. But anyway, he wrote this book called String Theory on tennis because of and it was a collection of 5 essays that he wrote on tennis and his life with tennis in general as well. So it was like a really off-the-wall random book, but I loved it. Like, it was awesome. So he goes through, he was like a reporter for like tennis stuff, and he would go to tennis events on a few of these things. And then he talked about Tracy Austin's memoir and his just like hot take thoughts on it and how disappointed he was. And he talks about Roger Federer. So this is back in like probably like early 2000s, mid 2000s, when like Roger Federer was just kind of coming of age as like the best of the best in the world. So he wrote this article about Roger Federer's mastery and genius, and then he wrote an article about his own tennis history and like why he was just never able to really break through, but how he was able to master certain areas of aspects of tennis, and like where he grew up and thought a little differently than other people was the only reason why he was able to succeed at all. Anyway, it was a really interesting book. I enjoyed it, and only because like I like creative writing and I like tennis, so it was kind of a good mixture between the two of these. But that said, I'm really excited about this reflection because it got me thinking, and tennis always gets me thinking. That's why I love tennis. Tennis makes me think. The reflection title on this one is Your Toughest Opponent is Always Yourself. As you were going through these 5 different short story essays that he did on tennis and his thoughts on tennis, as you know, I've played tennis competitively my entire life since I think I was 5 years old when I took my first tennis lesson. I've been playing ever since, and tennis has always just been something that I don't know, for a long time didn't understand why it was just appealing, but it was just beavering on purpose. Like, it was beavering on accident.
Do you know why you like tennis now?
I do know why now, yeah, because of this whole journey. But
no, it was, like, why? Can you explain why?
Yeah, I will. I'll get there. And we've talked about this many times in other reflections as well. But the reason why I love tennis, I was beavering on accident most of my life with tennis, and I didn't really ever understand it. As a matter of fact, I was kind of terrified of losing it for most of my life. And this is a reflection I wrote about another book in the future. It wasn't until like Amelia and this journey and other things where I've discovered that really the true reason why tennis is so impactful for me is it allows me to express all of my values at once. I'm not as scared as losing it anymore as I used to be, because now I know how to go recreate that in all of these different areas. I've been able to dissect the source code as to what, why tennis, it just is naturally connects all the dots of all my values and everything. But that's why I love tennis so much. It just naturally brings out all the values that I really hold near and dear into my life. And it's a way for me to get into that flow state and a way for me to get into that, just completely absorbed into a meaningful work. And yeah, it's funny. We've talked about playing tennis, and you say like work, in the past,
You can work tennis or you can play. The only thing you're saying is, hey, I just do.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
because that's what I'm trying to get at is
right.
You just do.
Right.
Why you like it? Well, I just do. I don't know. I just do. Right. It makes me feel like, hey,
I do know. I'm saying I do know now.
It doesn't mean anything to somebody else who doesn't understand the meaning of the words you're saying. Hey, it express all my values. What the hell does that mean?
Right.
But that's the thing is, we want to start with like the beavering on purpose, right? Beaver must dance first, and then we gradually get them to understand, okay, connect the dot to a donkey in the shed and then an auto run downhill, right? Because right now you tell them, hey, I love tennis because it allows me to express all the values I care about, right? You think about that for a second.
Right.
Who the heck understand that? Anything you just said.
Well, yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that's the whole point of this whole journey.
And that's the point I'm asking you in terms of, can you explain, can you articulate to me that I could understand, and I'm a stranger to you, and can you come to me and articulate to me that I could understand? Now you could understand, but how can the other person, a stranger, understand why you like tennis? The only thing you can say to me, right, is, oh, I just do. It makes me feel good. And I can understand that when you're talking about, hey, it's this, that. That's why this is the thing that I said about Texas A&M and its culture, right? We say, from inside looking out, I can't explain it. But when from outside looking in, they can't understand it.
Right.
That's the beauty of it, is that you just do. You play tennis because it's not something that you hate to do. It's something that gives you positive energy, positive emotions. This is why you call play tennis. But if you tell me, as not a non-tennis player, to go do tennis,
work tennis,
it's work tennis for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hell, even Andre Agassi thought tennis was work. He hated it. He hated his job. Like we learned that one in the past. But anyway, this isn't my reflection. All right, let me get to the reflection. So, for me personally, as a lifelong tennis player and enthusiast and fan as well, like I've had a lot of, I don't want to call them idols, but like I'll call it somebody that you look up to, that's inspirations. A lot of
admire.
People that I admire. Yeah, a lot of people that I admire in the way that they play tennis, because tennis is such a fun, unique game, because it really brings out your character just naturally. It just naturally brings out your character, in my opinion. One of those people that I've always loved to watch. I was always the biggest fan of Andre Agassi for many reasons, and we've talked about that in the past. But like I feel like I resonated personally with Andre, but like I loved watching Roger Federer play the game of tennis. The guy is like a magician. He just effortlessly floats around the court and pulls these most amazing technical shots while he looks like he's gliding around, while he's hitting incredible amount of spin and precision, but at the same time he's always under control. He always is calm, cool, and collected. He always looks like he isn't rushed in any way, shape, or trying too hard, but he's just doing some of the most amazing things you've ever seen anybody ever do on a tennis court. And it looks effortless and it's unreal. It's beautiful. Honestly, it's like a beautiful sight to see how he turns tennis into an art form. And everybody that ever has watched Roger Federer will say the same thing. If, I don't care if you're a fan of him or not, like he's just a beautiful player to watch play the game. And David Foster Wallace wrote an article about Roger Federer in a couple matches he was playing early on in his career, where people were like, wow, this guy's going to be the best ever, and it was readily apparent to a lot of people. I remember Andre Agassi saying that in his own book. He was like, I played Federer like deep into a major later on in my career, and I was like, this guy's something different. Everybody could just see it with him, and you were just like, man, he just is something different. But what I've always personally loved the most about Roger Federer, and I didn't really know it until after reading this book and then kind of thinking through this reflection, is I admire his mental strength. And here's a great example why. In the Wimbledon finals of 2019, Roger Federer just recently retired, so it's only 2022 now, right? So he was on the tail end of his career. Like, I mean, he's had an incredible career. When at this time he was the number one, he was the most winning major championships ever from a male tennis player at this stage of his career. But he was at the twilight of his career. I mean, he was still playing pretty good tennis, but he was certainly very much less capable than he was when he was in his prime of his career, right? He was like 38 years old or something like that at this point in time when he was in 2019. he played this final with Novak Djokovic, who's also one of the all-time greats as well, where they went to 12-13 in the fifth set, where Novak won in this epic final in Wimbledon. This was one of the best matches of all time. There's like 5 matches that are the best matches of all time. This is definitely one of them. I was lucky to be able to watch this match and to see it happen. At one point in time in this match, Roger Federer had multiple match points in the fifth set. So to win the match, he had multiple match points, meaning if he would have won the point, he would have won the match and he would have won the Wimbledon title again. And unfortunately, he could not get over the hump. Novak battled back, and then he lost that particular game when he was about ready to win at to win 6-4 in the fifth set, and Novak tied it up at 5-5, and then they went on to go into extended time in tennis, which doesn't happen regularly. Novak ended up winning 12-13 in overtime, if you will, where it's like win by 2 kind of thing, and the fifth set, Novak goes on to win the match. Roger Federer didn't seem that devastated, right? After the match was over, he'd won multiple Wimbledons. I didn't know what was going on through his mind, but I'm sitting there watching this going like, damn, man, that was tough. That was a tough match, right? So fast forward to the interviews and with the press afterwards. They're at the microphone and they're giving interviews. And one of the people asked Roger Federer, like, how'd you feel like when you had multiple match points, try to put Novak away in the fifth set and you lost, and I'm thinking on my end as just a tennis player, like, man, I'd be devastated. Like that would have crushed me. I would have wilted. I'm thinking I'm about to win Wimbledon. I'm about to beat one of the all-time greats. I've worked my ass off for 4 hours into a match. I'm tired. I'm hurting. All these things are going on in my head, and I lost, and I failed to get over that hump. And then I lost the match. I would just be crushed right now. So they asked Roger Federer, what's his thoughts? And he goes, you know what? I wasn't too angry about it at all. He goes, I looked around and I was like, we're on serve in the fifth set. And at this stage of my career, playing against, one of the other all-time greats, like in Novak, if you would have said at the beginning of the match, like, you're going to get to a fifth set and be on serve at 5-all with Novak, and have a chance to still win the Wimbledon title, would you take that? And he was like, yeah, of course, I'd take that all day long. That's an amazing match. I'd be incredibly happy to be right there, and I'm like, I like put my hands over my own face and I'm like, man, this is why this guy is great. To be in that pressure packed of a moment to go, it's okay. I'm pretty grateful about where I'm at. Like, I'll just reset and I'll just keep going at it, and they continue to go on. And yeah, he lost, but he didn't care. Now, here's where the crazy part was. Novak comes up and gets interviewed right after this, and they ask him the same question. They're like, Novak, how'd you feel? You were down multiple match points to Roger Federer on center court at Wimbledon. This is Roger's palace. This is where he's won the most of his titles. Everybody loves him here. What were you thinking? How did you overcome that? And Novak goes, you know what? I didn't hear the crowd cheering. As a matter, he goes, oh, sorry, I heard the crowd cheering. But he goes, I actually imagined that they were cheering for me. And he goes, I literally put myself in the position of like, this is them rooting not against me. They're rooting for me. And they were saying, Novak, go Novak, and that was how he overcame his own things on the other side of the court to get through match point, to keep fighting against Roger, who is the king of Wimbledon, and was able to come out with a victory. Right. And I just, I'm watching these two give this press conference and I'm like, holy shit. To be able to create your own reality in that moment, to be able to turn all of what was going on, all these emotions, all these feelings, all this anxiety, and to condense it down and then to make sense of it and to retrain their elephant, to keep that calm in the middle of the storm, for both of them. I'm like, man, these guys are just on another level. And it just made me feel so good about another reason why I love tennis. It's just one of those sports and one of those activities where, you were always fighting yourself. And it is like, that's the reflection title, right? Your toughest opponent is always going to be yourself. You're going to find these situations where, it's you versus yourself. And that's why I love it so much. And I love tennis so much. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the Wimbledon final or whether you're playing in a rec league, USTA adult tennis league, you're doing anything in life. It's always a battle of wills between, your little inner elephant and your little rider on top of your head and getting in your way. And, you're going to fail and you're going to struggle and you're going to do all this bad stuff. But it's like, how do you come back from that? How do you fight through that? And how do you keep fighting the good fight? And that's why I love tennis so much. That's why I love this reflection. That's why, I don't know, feeds my soul. And it's why it's not beavering on accident anymore. It's beavering on purpose because of these kind of things. As Billie Jean King would say, pressure is a privilege, right? If you're in that situation, I love it. Embrace it all, battle yourself. So that's the reflection today. If you can't tell, I'm excited because I love tennis. So
yeah, of course, I think, when you're doing something that it is in your nature, like a beaver must dam, you're always going to feel good. That's why I say, you can't really explain it. You just do, man.
Yeah.
And say, why do you like it? I just do. I mean, what else can you say to say, well, you can sprout all kind of nonsense to the other person about, the universe, the calling, the values, or whatever. It means nothing to them when it goes to the ear. It just basically bounce off of whatever invisible wall that's in front of them
Right.
because they can't connect that dot. But when you talking through the mental fortitude of these great admirers of yours, and it reminds me of the I don't run for train concept, because that's essentially my thing. Is it to me, it's not about the pressure, and I think everything comes down to having that mental lever, because we talk about the mental fortitude of the prisoner, whether or not they can survive the prison camp before, right? Because they have the mental fortitude to say, well, these pressure isn't pressing on something that I care the most. If you look at the ability, for example, you look at Andre Agassi, when the only thing that he is going for is to win tennis. Then if you crush him, then he feels devastated.
Yeah.
But if his thing is to do something more than tennis, whether to fund his charity or whatever, losing a tennis match doesn't put the right pressure on his core value. So I think having the ability to hold a certain core value that that is yours, and if you do that, right, and if you can do that, you don't run for train. But everything else, it's insignificant to you. What does that pressure does to me? Nothing, right? It's artificial. It's artificial pressure to maintain some kind of a consistency. Let's say this guy is consistent. He's honest. He's on time. He's always, completely like on the mark of how we predict him to be, right? And if and the thing is not like you told them that you're punctual or anything. They just give you that title, and you basically have to live up to it, and that creates a pressure. But it's not the value that you care. Maybe punctual is not what you care about, but why are you creating the pressure for that? That's why for me is when you really dig down and understand and say, hey, what kind of a person am I? Right? If you can find that, like this guy did, right? They found who they are, like the beaver. Once a beaver on purpose, everything else that they do that is not within a core value that they fight for, it basically pressures nothing. There's no pressure to them. It's insignificant. And
it's
so
fun.
I think
it's a game. They relish it. They eat it up.
You can't beat them. You cannot beat them if they face an opponent with the mental fortitude of Roger Federer, right? How the hell can you beat him?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like that's what I'm looking at going, I don't know what I would have crumbled like and wilt. This is so funny that we're talking about this today, because I accidentally got thrown into this deal with one of my employees over the past couple of weeks where we are at a pressure packed into Q4 with Salesforce and trying to get this deal across the line. And I got thrown into it because he needed extra support and help. They're barking orders and asking us to do this other stuff. And honestly, I was getting pretty stressed out today. Like I was like, I don't want to be in this environment. I've actively tried to stay out of my team's deals and just be the coach, right? But unfortunately, since a lot of them are new, I had this particular deal I had to get involved in, out of necessity, and I didn't want to, but in the future, I will strive to change that. But it didn't change the fact that I was feeling the pressure all day long. My leg was twitching. Like I was internal barking orders at people, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I mean, we're talking about this right now. Like, find your calm in the middle of the fucking storm, right? And to go, what does this matter? I don't give a shit if Salesforce doesn't win this deal. I don't give a shit if we don't win this deal. I don't give a shit. You know what I care about is if people that I work with, they think that I'm an asshole.
Values that you strongly held high, and a certain core value, it isn't worth anything. It is somebody else's projection on you. Because like I told you before, if somebody would just say, hey, True's an honest guy, True's a functional guy, right? You try to live up to this given trait, like why? And that's the problem. You feel pressured for some insignificant core value that is not even yours. This is why once the masters of, like you're talking about Federer and Novak are the masters of their game, right? So they understand what really drives them and what does not drive. It wasn't insignificant. The pressure, the crowd, whatever. You look at Novak. You look at the crowd, say, well, the crowd's against me or whatever, right? He understands, right, what is important to him. And any noise, anything that's expected of him from other people, it is not his. People give judgments.
Yep.
When they say, hey, Chris is this or Chris is that, and like Chris is smart or Chris is whatever, they try to lead you into doing this or whatever. If you don't care, right? For example, a lot of people say, leadership, right? Everybody saying leadership. You ask me, right? You ask any kid, any guy with an ego, any guy with an ambition, you ask him, when you become this, would you like to be the leader? If you ask me, I say, no, I don't want to be a leader. That's not me, because I truly understand who I am.
You do. You want to lead yourself.
Right. But I'm talking about leader in the meaning and connotation of society, right? Everybody say, hey, you want to be leader, you want to be this and that, because these are like, you're talking about rise, grind, and repeat, right? Everybody tells you, grits and this and that, because that's what's ingrained into you, and that's what's given to you by society and by the people that's around you, right? And you try to live up to it, and you want to be ahead. I want to be, the leader. I want to be
forward.
But you think about it, these people don't really understand what it means and whether it's worth it for them, because I have done that in my past, where I was the leader. I built my own company. I led the company, and I did well, right? But I would fucking hate that job. I don't like to deal with people. I just like to build stuff, right?
Right.
So just don't bother me. Don't call me. Don't ask me for stupid shit about, this and that, blah, blah. Right? I just detest this kind of thing. And that's my personality. Someone else loves it. Makes them great leader with little effort. It makes me a near good leader when I try my damnest best with the most pressure induced, artificial induced pressure life that I've ever gone through. Right. Yeah. So that's why for me, the concept of don't run for train is so impactful for me in my life today, because I've done the other stuff. You ask me, hey, you should be a leader, should it be that? I say, I don't fucking care about being a leader.
Except for the one train that says beavering on purpose. That's the one train that you can hop on.
Yes, there are certain. For me, if you tell me, hey, I'm not a builder, right? I'm not a thinker, then yeah, I'm going to have a cow, because that's important to me as a person that highly I enjoy the creations of things. I build things. I love it, man. Basically, like you say, you are in your flow state when you are playing tennis. When I build things,
I can be in my flow state. I could also be in my worst nightmare too, because I want to be in my flow state and I can't get there sometimes. When I was younger, it was like my worst nightmare. To be honest, like your beavering on purpose can turn into the worst thing ever when you don't know why you're doing it, because you're like, I want to be good at this.
Right, because you have false positives.
Right.
Right, because there's certain value that you think that's what you want, but it isn't really what you want. It may resemble some of the values that you want, but it isn't really the value you want. Therefore, it's going, like I said, when you were younger, you want to be competitive and do grits and eat the frog, because that's, hey, I'm competitive, so I can eat the frog. You think about it. So the eating the frog and the competitive, it resemble each other. You say you're competitive. Yeah, I'm competitive. So eat a frog. That is not consistent.
This is when I got sucked into this deal over the past week or 2 weeks. Like I want to win it now. And I don't even know why. When you get into the moment and all the shit flows into you.
Because that's your competitive nature, right? Your competitive nature comes out, which is the core value you have, right? That competitive nature resembles this little eat the frog concept where, on the surface, you can't tell the difference. And when the frog got into front of your face, you say, hey, I'm competitive, so I'm going to eat this stupid frog, right? And the thing is, if you can take some moment and calm yourself down and say, I don't run for train. Is this really a core values of competitiveness that I value? It is, or is it a
I hate
or is it a decoy to think this is some value that, just like we're talking about, like never quit and endure. It looks a lot alike,
right?
A lot like, but for me, I see a big difference, right? I see a big difference between never quit and endure.
I agree, and I mean, true. I hate who I am when my competitive nature comes out. It disgusts me. I know that is another way to explore a value, right? For some reason, this is why I stopped gambling. This is why I don't want to sell anymore, because this is why I like helping people to lead and coach and whatever, all this other stuff, because that is my calm, and it helps me to feel like I'm doing things that are on purpose and it's balanced, right? Like I get unbalanced when I get into a competitive environment. It's incredibly unbalanced. Like it's a runaway train. Talk about getting on it. Don't run for trains. I'm speeding through stations, and I don't care if I ran over 5 people behind me. Like I don't give a shit. We're going, and you either hop on or hop the
Yeah,
fuck off.
because
But
these
like,
value you blindsided you on the values and other core value you care
right,
about. Because you said, hey,
exactly,
if I have to run over 5 people, so be it. Because for the sake of competitiveness, right? You may hold like integrity and endure and be
it's
nice to
it's
people, not run
brutal.
over people, but you did run over for the sake of that. So the externality changes when you focus on a certain core values and see some of these core value has its pros and cons. And that's why I'm
Exactly.
saying you have to be really, really deep down understand yourself and know yourself, and the most to be able to distinguish between the decoy versus the real core values.
That's what I said. Your toughest opponent is always going to be yourself. Like, I mean, I mean, I can't, like, right now, like, I can't, I've seen, at least I'm seeing this stuff. I'm always been aware of it, but now I see it viscerally, and I'm like, this needs to end now, like today. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in this. Like, I am actively removing myself from other deals from my team, because I'm like, this isn't how I want to lead. I want to lead by example, and I can't lead by example to preach balance and to preach all this other stuff if I'm going to get really ramped up and go do this stuff, right? Like, and that's on them, like, to go find their calm in the middle of the storm. Like how I find my calm in the middle of all this is,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be involved in this anymore. This does not align to who I want to be, which is why I'm not selling anymore, which is why I'm trying to help other people. That's why we're having this conversation right now. Now, tennis, I've been able to harness it a little bit, right? Like, and this is one of the reasons why I love it. I can find ways to express my other values. I can't in that deal. Like, there's no balance in that deal. I'm getting berated by Salesforce, by the customer, by my internal team, by whatever. It's either get the fuck in or get the fuck out, right? There's no escaping it in that world, right? You either fight or you don't, That's not the world that I want to be in. If I'm not fighting for a reason, I don't want to be a part of it, Like tennis, I can fight for a reason. Like I can find ways to express my other values and still not fight myself, but still overcome myself. And I give this example of Novak and Roger in this environment and say, they're getting flooded with all kinds of emotions and stimuli from all over the place. And the most pressure-packed moments that probably anybody in this world will ever have, and they're able to find their calm in the middle of it. That's who I want to be. Like, that's what I want to be. That's who I want to emulate my life after. That is who I want to, my actions like to reflect. So I need to make sure that my values reflect that, right? I can try to do that in my job, but I can also say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in that job, Like, and I don't have to be if I don't want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And my thing is, if you think about, if you did not went through this company concept, you would have been like completely reeled into this thing and continue to do more deals and more deals and more deals, and then
Oh yeah.
suddenly you like realize that, hey, I'm in rabbit hole. But because you're on this journey, like you notice it right away. You
100%.
seen, hey, I'm eating the frog, and this competitiveness, it's ugly.
Yep.
It wasn't what I want. And then now that I'm hooked, like, hey, this is not the kind of emotions that I want to have. Most people are reeled into these bait and then get into this rabbit hole without even realizing they're in a rabbit
Right.
hole.
Yeah.
And somebody, they don't even realize it until when they really, really to the point where an atomic bomb exploded, and say, well, what the hell just happened? I'm in a rabbit hole. Because we don't see what is not in front of us. So we are chasing this stupid rabbit down some kind of hole, and we don't see the little tunnels at all. We just look at the rabbit and we follow that rabbit like there's no tomorrow. And that's some of the biggest mistakes anyone can do.
I want to go.
Exactly. And that's the key, is to say, well, your toughest opponent is yourself. And so you have to know yourself. You have to know, are you doing this because it is who you are, or it's because people give it to you, or yourself is trying to, compete again, kind of like you have to overcome the other self, the negative self. You have a positive self and a negative self. And
Right.
negative self will always show up. And if you can't defeat your negative self, and your negative self is going to be the toughest opponent you will ever have in life, and it's always going to be neck and neck with you. So you have to be able to
It
know
is.
exactly what kind of characteristic that negative self does, so you can be able to overcome the yin yang strategy, because these negative and positive feed on each other, and having the ability to absorb some of these doubts, but without getting affected by it, is greatly powerful to determine the direction you go forward. Because let's say somebody who is not a master at tennis, and you say, hey, let's take this magic wand and just poof, put this person into the positions of Federer or Novak, right? They can't
puking in the corner.
Exactly. You put in the corner because they can't, because they're going to say, well, all these people watching me, what are they going to think of me? But they can't even play because they have not fortified their mind. Their negative emotion, right? It is so strong at that point, they cannot even play at all, to even give you a decent game to watch. And that's the beauty of it. Like these guys, that once you get to the point where you really understand yourself, you're beavering on purpose, then you recognize these things right away. I always do recognize the don't run for train concept, and I don't get into long run because to me, I have faced the consequences of running for a train in the past, and it's something I hated completely. So for me, once I discovered this concept with you, right, I have been using that concept to make my life a peaceful life. Right? There's a lot of stuff going on, and there's more stuff going on now than before. But I feel like, hey, you ask me, hey, True, what do you do over the weekend? Well, nothing. Anything happening? Well, nothing. Right? I don't want any kind of, dramatic event, whether good or negative, because there's certain things. The pendulum is going to swing one way to from one end to the other end. So for me, it's having the concept and what values to me brings the feelings for me that I like to have. Right. It may be different for different people. Different people may say, well, this is boring. And that's you, because if it's boring for you, then that's not your core value, and that's okay. Go find yours.
The perfect day is ordinary. But you're right. I'm going to recap my day today. I've been pitting out, sweating, and my armpits have been just doused with water. My leg at one point in time in the call was just twitching back and forth all day long, jittery movements. Anytime that I had a 5-minute break, I was downstairs snacking on shit, because I'm like, I got to have something to feed my whatever. And right now I'm drinking a glass of wine because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Right.
Talking about a spiral.
I know, it's awful. And I say all this, like, to be 100% honest, this is not how I want my life to be. You know what I missed today? I missed 2 one-on-ones with employees. I missed quality time with my son because I was on extended calls after the night with other people trying to put this fire out and barking orders at people and doing whatever we need to do. I missed when a couple of my employees asked about questions they had throughout the course of the day. I was like, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I'm completely detained, and I'm running on this train. I'm in a runaway train right now, and I can't stop it. I'm getting blown up all day long with messages all day with I need an answer right now. And like none of it makes me feel like this day has been one of the things that I write in my journal every day is clean slate every day. Tomorrow, I'm going to forget this. It's fine. I don't need a glass of wine every night or whatever. Like today was a day that I can learn from. I mean, this is not who I want to be. This is not me beavering on purpose. This is me getting on a train and somebody else taking me somewhere and I'm going, you know what? I was on a train. And I realized that Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, they know when they're on a train and when they're not, and they can immediately stop the train. Like I wish I would have just stopped the train earlier today and be like, nope, that's it. I don't care. If this deal doesn't work, I'm not going to do this to myself. I'm not going to do this to my team. I'm not going to make this example of how I engage with my own team and the broader team that I have to work with. This is not who I'm going to be. But today I learned my lesson.
Right. This is the thing is when you say leading by example, you are leading a bad example for your team, because they say, well, that's what we should do.
And that's exactly my building a culture. What we're trying to build with Clubany, what we're trying to do here is to say, this is who you are. This is what you care about. Do that. Don't let other people take that away from you. As a matter of fact, find other people that are underlined to that and go do that together. But don't ever go run for other people's trains that are like, yo, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic could have been just inundated with emotions and feelings and things flying at him from all different directions in this entire match and this entire moment. They were able to say, nope, this is who I want to be. This is how I care about this. I am laser focused in on this. And I feel better. Like I feel under control. I feel calm. I feel good. I feel like I am at peace. Like I did not feel like I was at peace today. And when I don't feel like I'm at peace, I'm nervously eating.
It's not play. It's awful. I mean, it's awful. Do you feel awful or you feel like joyful and happy.
So here's the weird thing: is like a part of you feels exhilarated because you're like flying at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Well, that's false positive as well, because you think that it resembles some of the quote unquote the patterns of emotion that you got before that ends up with something great, right? Versus eating frog, it resembles each other. How do you tell the difference? Enduring and never quit. What's the difference? What's the difference between enduring and never quit? Well, one is bad and one is good.
Recognize when you're in a cold.
But that's what I'm saying is some of these exhilaration is as a result of the false positive, meaning that there are certain patterns in the exhilaration that you have for something good resembles something is bad what you have right now, but you still haven't enough information or data to tell which it is. So your body say, well, as what I see with the data today, right? It could be good. That's why you feel some exhilaration, right? It could be bad. That's all I'm telling you. Because they say, hey, you look at both, right? Never quit and enduring. On the surface, does anyone can tell me what's the difference? On the surface. And that's what you are right now. Right. You are right now is on the surface. You just got in with one day, right? You don't have too much data points to understand all the. So your body.
On the surface, my whole mind and body are engaged. But digging deeper, my mind and body are engaged in shit that I don't want to be engaged in.
Exactly. So when you dig deeper, you have more data point, and you say, well, this isn't the kind of events and emotion I want. That's why I say when you say so. When you get mixed feelings, don't mistake that for saying, hey, maybe this is my core value. So, right? No, it's not. It's not your core value, because your core values, it's going to be like running down here. It's going to be so effortless, because you telling me like, hey, for me to sell something that I don't want to sell, it is so tremendously hard. But for me to sell something that I believe in, it is so fucking easy, right? Even I'm not a salesman. You're talking about me as a person. I'm not selling you anything. I'm just telling you why I'm so enthused about the book, right? I sold it to you and you read it, right? Did the company pay me for it? No. Did I intend to wake up one day, hey, today I'm going to sell Chris to make him read this book? No. I didn't have no intention of selling you stuff. But because sleeping and health is some of my core value, it effortlessly. I didn't have to do anything other than be myself. I didn't even know I was selling it.
Running downhill, it's still hard, but it feels good. Enjoy it. Running uphill is also hard, but both of them are hard activities, and both of them require your full attention and endurance.
You look at the running downhill and running uphill, right? There's a big difference. I mean, right away, there's a big difference. Right? People can't say, well, when you run downhill, you don't exert any energy, It's not like you're on some kind of a wheel or anything like that. Yeah, you still have to put one foot forward, the other foot, continue to do that. And you still do that. But, it's the energy of momentum that helps you, like the wind behind the sail kind of deal. So having run downhill gives you a boost versus running uphill. You still exit some sort of energy, but you don't get as much.
What do you do when you get to the top of a hill?
You go back down.
Well, no. What do you do when you get to the top of the hill mentally?
When you let go of all the pressure.
You celebrate. You're like, shit, I finally got here. I'm in. I'm done. Whew. Man, it's amazing. Feel great. I'm going to have a drink.
You feel great. Why do you feel great?
Because you just worked your ass off, did something you hated.
No, you felt great because the reason why you feel great is because you are able to put down the heavy burden of whatever carry that this pressure. You basically offloaded. The offloaded aspect of that makes you feel good, not the act of rolling the boulder up the hill.
What do you do?
People mistake that. They say, "Hey, I got to push this boulder up the hill." And so that I can celebrate because it made me feel good. No, what made you feel good was unloading that fucking boulder on your fucking shoulder or on the thing that you're trying to roll up.
Exactly. What do you do when you get to the bottom of a hill and you're running on the flat train at that point in time?
You continue to go.
You just say, oh, I'm at the bottom of the hill. I keep going. It's like, it's fine. Okay. Like, not a big deal. This is my point. It's like today I got to the top of a hill of shit that I didn't want to do. And I'm like, oh my God. This is off my back. I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to go hang out with friends. I'm going to go, nasty ass meal that's, just like reward the shit out of myself because that was sucked. You know what I mean?
Talking about
but I'm
spiraling
here.
out of control.
I know, right? It's like it's so like the ebbs and flows of life. It's like you swing one way and you just immediately swing all the way back on. Like that's how I feel right now. Like today I was swinging this way and now I'm like, oh, I can finally relax. I can swing back this way. I'm gonna have a glass of wine, eat some food, whatever it is. Like, and I'm on the pendulum of life right now. Like
Yeah,
I
but
am
you
swinging like
think
crazy.
about the guy who's running down here, right? He runs farther in the same amount of time that you went up the
He's like,
hill, and then
fine.
when you went up the hill, you huffing and puffing, and then you stopped, and then and then you engorge all this, poisons into your system. Then the next morning, you're way behind, you're delayed, while the guy who's running down here is still like 3 or 4 times like ahead of you in terms of the distance to where he wants to go. You're like, okay, I got one, and now I have to really try to recoup the exhausted energy that I spend, and then also recoup the ability to neutralize all these toxic chemicals and all these nasty ass stuff that you ingest down your throat. So you're completely handicapped in that approach. You think about it. And the other guy was like, hey, I didn't eat shit, right? I got more energy and it's going down here. And now on a flat plane, I use up momentum and continue. By the time you even get to start the second, I'm 5 times ahead of you.
You've exhausted all of your willpower to get up that hill. I exhausted all of my willpower today. All of it. I mean, there was multiple times where I was like, I cannot keep doing this. I just don't want to have another conversation about this. I've exhausted it all. Like it is gone. So how am I replenishing my willpower right now? I'm indulging myself. Like that's not replenishing. Like that's just indulging yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. And that sucks.
And this is what I was saying about the monkey of more, about the willpower, the infinite power. You indulge yourself because there is a desire, but the potential for the indulging desire is so small that you have to indulge so many of these little toxic things to get enough willpower back into your tank.
Yeah.
But you think about it, it's the desire that replenishes the willpower, not right. You have to do something. It doesn't replenish on its own. Right. This is why you're drinking the wine. This is why you're indulging yourself to kind of say, I want to get back to neutrality because I'm negative willpower at this moment, right? I need to get it back, and whatever I can do, even though it's a tiny amount, right?
Please,
I'm
God,
going to
help
squeeze
me.
it. That's why you're drinking the wine, you're eating the whatever things that you say, hey, if it's
a chocolate bar,
whatever. Because, and this is why a lot of people who are depressed, right? They tend to eat a lot.
Right.
Because food is essentially a little bit of desire, right? And so whenever you're depressed, it's negative willpower, and then you need to replenish it. And so people eat and eat. They're not hungry. They eat because your brains needs it.
They've been fighting themselves all day long, and they're like, God, I just need something to replenish because they're not doing the shit that they actually like and what they care about and what they want to do.
But that's why a lot of people who have like really mastered themselves, right? They're able to enjoy the life and they're physically fit and they're physically healthy. The people who are depressed, right? Their health is deteriorating faster than the average person because it makes them trying to maintain this balance of willpower inside of them because they exert so much willpower to do the thing they hate. So they have to replenish themselves with certain things they desire. But those things that desire that it's easily and cheaply got, right? It is very, very toxic for you because you're eating chocolate, you're drinking the wine, and that's why a lot of people who are depressed are alcoholics, right? Right? Are they gotten fat or they have a lot of disease like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, all these things. It's all because of that. And you think about the root cause of the reason why you need to replenish the power. It's not because you're hungry or because of anything or you like the food.
They're fighting themselves all day long and they're losing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's to kind of numb, because you think about alcohol is very effective in numbing the negative feeling, right? But whenever you have very low willpower, it feels so awful that you need to numb yourself. Mm-hmm. And so alcohol is so effective in doing that. And people, that's why they become alcoholic, because that's what they do. They go to the alcohol and say, well, how can I get rid of this uneasy feeling? You're talking about right now. Your whole body is essentially jittery. It's like like this. It's jittery. So the thing
I don't
is,
need caffeine. Like if I drink caffeine, I feel like I drank like 18 cups of coffee.
It's like that. It's shaking. It's fucking shaking.
Right.
You feel it's bouncing
sweaty,
up and down, right?
Hands sweaty,
and all that, right? Your body is out of. It's like basically out of shock. And your body is trying to say, well, Chris,
calm the fuck down.
You need to give me more willpower. So what's right in front of you? Food, alcohol, right? Yep. That's why people eat. That's why people drink. You think about it, right? So that's why it's a negative spiral. It's going to spiral down out of control. And if you don't recognize this and you continue this for the next day or two, next day or so, it's going to become an alcoholic.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But nonetheless, the ability for you to maintain the sustainable cycle of willpower.
I don't know. Hit your little camera and then hit your camera again.
Yeah, my camera.
No, that didn't work.
Oh well.
Yeah. That's weird. But no, you're right. I think actually this has been a in a not ironic, but in an interesting twist of fate. This is exactly why we do this. Like this reminded me of who I am today, how I want to live my life and what I want to be. And it also helped me to process, those thoughts and those feelings and those emotions to keep me able to do this better next time. And like my hands are not sweaty, my armpits aren't sweaty, my feet aren't sweaty. Like, for the first time today, like I feel like my heart rate isn't about to explode out of my fucking chest, and it wasn't because of wine, it wasn't because of food, it wasn't because of anything else. Like I've been engaged in this conversation the whole entire time, and that's because this is beavering on purpose. You know what I mean? Like
right. When you beavering on purpose, you are getting desire that it continue to replenish your willpower.
Right.
But once your willpower completely depleted, your system is frantically trying to get you to refuel yourself. And whatever is available, you will take anything, right? That's why I think it happens to be that alcohol and food,
caffeine,
is bad for you, right? Because it's available. But if you didn't have the wine, you wouldn't be able to drink it, right? You wouldn't go out there and buy wine to drink today just because it happened to have it with food.
There was an open bottle of wine on the counter when I walked by, and I was like, I deserve a glass of wine tonight. And I don't know why. Like, I mean, like I don't ever drink wine on the weekdays, but I'm like, because I got to work out in the morning, I got to get up early, take care of my son, do all the stuff that I care about, hang out with Amelia, all those things, right? And wine doesn't support that. Wine detracts from. If anything, it takes me away from my
but the thing is, that's what I'm saying is, you are trying to negate the negative effect of the feeling that you don't want, and your body is making it known that, hey, I don't want this feeling. So you are sweating. Why are you sweating?
My heart's racing. I'm doing stuff.
Because your body is triggering you to say, hey, you need to replenish your willpower before it depletes complete zero, right? When it depletes to zero, you actually don't do anything.
Yeah.
Because right now you have so low.
It's the saying, like I can't even, like it's literally like I can't even, it's like I don't want to do anything. Like I'm out. I'm checked out. I'm done.
Because you think about it, that's why when you have low amount of energy, you will go for the low effort value that gives you the desire to replenish it, because you can't go for something. Let's say, when I'm have low energy, let's go do something that I really hate. Let's go making a sale so that I can win or push this boulder up the hill so that I can get extra boost of desire to kind of replenish my willpower. It doesn't work like that, because halfway up the hill you are completely zero and it crushes you, and that's the end of it, right? That's why we go for the low hanging fruit of effort when willpower is low, because I believe that when your willpower is go to zero, in terms of physics, basically your heart is flatline. There's no way to get it back. That's why whenever your heart is flatline, what do? They jumpstart you because something has to pump.
Right.
To get it, because the thing, if it's flatline, right? How do you get it in? By an internal cell. How do I stop pumping again? You cannot. That's why your body is frantically trying to give you signals pressure you to become nervous and jittery, so that you go and satisfy this or soothe these negative emotions that you have by, hey, what's the easiest thing that without taking a lot of effort? Oh, there's food, there's wine.
You know what I can guarantee you is that Novak and Roger in this fifth set of the Wimbledon finals were not sweaty and nervous.
Exact opposite of that. And they don't run for trains. And that's why exactly. I love the concept of don't run for trains. Like I say, for me personally, it is a tremendous benefit for my life going forward, because that's how I do today. It doesn't matter what I have to do. It doesn't matter how long. I don't even count the days. Like you count, like, remember when you start, hey, we're on this 100 or whatever. And yes, celebrate that, but I don't count them. I don't count them at all, because it doesn't even register in my mind. I don't count them because it doesn't affect me at all. I can do this forever. I can go and talk on this episode, we can be on the 1 millionth episode, and we still won't count them, because it's not like I have to exert more energy, because in this kind of activities, we exert less energy than we get back. So it's a net positive willpower. In a certain thing that you do, you exert more energy than you get in terms of the desire back, then you deplete the willpower. That's why work is exhausting at the end of the Friday, right? People say, hey, it's a fucking weekend. I can't wait until Friday. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF.
I'm actually really looking forward to this weekend. For the first time in my career, in my new role at OSF, like, this is the first time that I'm like, I cannot wait until this weekend. I'm so tired of this week. Like, I mean, it's funny because, like, that hasn't been the case at all. If anything, it's been the opposite. I'm like, man, I feel exhausted, but in a good exhausted, like, I mean, I'm sure Roger and Novak felt exhausted after this match,
We have willpower in them. I mean, they're exhausted physically, but the willpower is full. It's not depleted.
Right. Exactly.
I think willpower is mental fortitude is where everything depends on, because even if your body has the physical ability to continue on doing certain things, but if your mind decides to quit, it will quit. Just like the prisoner in war. If they say, well, I give up, they smoke their last cigarette, and they're gone, because they have decided it. So the willpower control.
You're indulging yourself one more time and getting the fuck out of here, right?
Exactly. And so I think having the willpower is the basis of all the things that we do. And the willpower is the only thing that gives you the energy to do that. And so there has to be some energy, and you need to maintain a sustainable cycle of willpower replenishment in order to go to the next step. And so the activity you choose to do, it is very, very important, because certain activity will have a net positive and certain activity will have net negative.
I can't gamble anymore, and I don't want to sell anymore either. So, like, clearly that does not do what I wanted to do to align to my purpose. But we're gonna have to put a pin on this one. Great conversation.
We're over again.
we're way over. And so, all right, but that was fun. Thanks for indulging me with a fun tennis conversation, but also just a fun conversation in general. And I feel way more calm for the first time today.
So what I'm saying is, when you get to this event, there's certain effort that you put in, but there's certain benefit you get out, and that benefit is positive. That's why you feel better when you're talking on this podcast. You feel better. That's why it's a net positive in this particular activity. For me and for you, it's a net positive.
Feel way more replenished than a glass of wine, for sure. Naturally. So the question that we can leave for everybody is, how are you working to master your emotions to not prevent you from bringing your art in the world? Because when you're out of control and you're running for trains, your art is left at the station, and
yes, exactly.
So awesome. Thanks for joining, everyone. And we will see you all on Monday.
Sounds good. See you.
See ya.